Terrific. So hello and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's STEM Community Lunchtime Conversation session. My name is Jeremy Bevender and
hi, I'm Chevy Humphrey and I'm the Hazel Light Hair President and CEO, and I'm thrilled to have a partnership with SciTech Institute. Jeremy and I have been working together for years, and we had a dream to create partnerships that would be long-standing and really focused on building STEM. So Jeremy, thank you for your leadership and your partnership we needed more than ever now science with what we're going through at this time. We have a few guest speakers here with us to share their great work, and they have been doing work in this area for many years. I'd like to introduce Jenna Asek, education expert, Microsoft Chandler. Hi, Jenna. Clayton Mock, Senior Director of Operations for Accountability. And Bogdan, I'm not going to say your name right, but Bogdan V. Habanyuk. Did I do it right? AVP of Risk Management and Information Security.
It's perfect, but I go by Bo.
Oh, okay. Hey, Bo, how you doing? I'm so excited you're with us.
Great.
And then Eric Peterson, Business Systems Analyst from Zovio. So you are in for an incredible day of presentations, and I'm so excited to learn from all of you. So thank you.
next slide. So now we want to cue our first presenter. So Jenna Asek, please take over from here. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jenna Asek. So excited to be here with you all. So I am the education expert based locally out of Microsoft in Chandler, Arizona. So today with the theme of cybersecurity, I was asked to talk a little bit about default kind of computer settings. So I'll be going a little bit, just a few details on that with Windows 10. Then I'm going to show a few other things, some other resources, but I'm also definitely more than happy to answer any questions. So jumping right in, the screenshot that I've got on the screen here is a snip of the screen that you'll see in your Windows Security Center. So for anybody using Windows 10, and that could be on a PC or a tablet or any device that runs Windows 10, if you simply type into your search bar security, you can bring up this same little panel here. So this is kind of the one-stop shop, if you will, for everything security related on your computer. So they've made it a lot easier in the last few years, definitely easier than it used to be when Windows 10 first launched. So now you can very simply just kind of go through the tabs on the side. It walks you through your virus protection. So you do have a built-in free antivirus protection with Windows 10. And then it will also walk you through things like making sure that your password is up to date and secure. If you have a device that allows facial recognition or a fingerprint scan, you can set that up directly through here as well. So lots of great things. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards, but let's go ahead and move forward to the next slide since we are pretty short on time today. All right, so this is the family options for Microsoft accounts. So you can actually access this directly through that same Windows Security Center. So if you are using Windows 10, it can be set up directly through there. But this is something that is not exclusive to Windows 10. So you can also get to it from that website that I put there, account.microsoft.com, and I'll have that on the last page as well, where we've got some additional resources. So this is great because it allows you to manage everything for your children. So if you are a parent and you're managing directly for your own family, you actually have the opportunity to create a child account for your child. So they'll have their own Microsoft account, but everything will be completely managed by you. And then that will allow you to do things like limiting their screen time, choosing what kinds of websites they can go to. This is also tied in with Xbox, so you can do do things like restricting what kinds of games they can play, breaking it down by title or by rating. So you can get pretty in depth with it. There's a lot of things that you can do. You can grant them permission for certain things. So, you know, if they have a really good day and you want to give them some extra time, you can do things like that as well. And then also, very importantly, you can restrict them from going into the store and buying things. So lots of really great things there. Again, we're always happy to sync with you afterwards if you have some more in-depth questions. And then let's go ahead to our next slide. So my last two slides here are just kind of introducing my team and a few additional resources that we offer. So you see myself there, the education expert, and then we've also got Nathan on this call here today. So he'll be in the breakout rooms with you as well. And then you can see a few other members of my team. We've got about 20 of us here locally, but these are the few of us that kind of really specialize in community engagement. So we offer tons of different services. Everything is free. So everything from trainings to, you know, support. You can see we've got gaming on there. We've been doing virtual gaming events, and then tech support as well. So really any questions that you have around technology, we're here to help you. And then we can jump to the last slide. All right, and then lastly, I just put a few different resources on here. So I know this deck will be shared out at the end, so you'll have these, but support.microsoft.com is a great resource for any kind of general questions that you have. Account.microsoft, again, will be where you can manage all of those settings for your account and your children's accounts. And then education.microsoft.com for anybody on the call who is a teacher or involved with a school in any way or a school district. There's tons of different trainings and self-paced resources on there, and they're all free. So that's one that I definitely recommend. And then lastly, the two at the bottom, that is our direct website for our local store, and then my direct email. So again, more than happy to help. I think I'm out of time, but thank you so much. And feel free to email me with any questions.
You did perfect. That was right on the dot. So thank you so much, Jenna. And now I want to cue Clayton. Again, from accountability, we've had so much help from our end and the back end of what they can accomplish at accountability and what they're able to just work through the systems and get us up and running. And so really excited that Clayton is here to talk more about what they do and about the cybersecurity there.
Thank you, Jeremy. Very excited to be here. I am responsible for the cybersecurity practice here at Accountability, and one of my key responsibilities is responding to security incidents that occur at our customers or occur at organizations that come to us with a problem. I want to talk today about kind of the most common both attack and unfortunately the most successful attack that we see occur within organizations that we help out, and that is a social engineering attack, which is really follows the same process of an old, old trope of a con or a con man, where they give, they persuade somebody into doing something that that person probably, if they knew better, doesn't want to do. So it's the same old thing. It's just in a digital universe, as opposed to being in person or via mail or what have you. So these follow the same steps. They prepare, the person finds out about the person, they approach and make contact with that person. That can be via email, phone call, text. They build trust by establishing themselves either as a trusted contact or appearing to be somebody the person knows, and then they engage. So let's look at like what some of these look like. If we go to the next slide, I'll hit on a couple examples. These are real examples that we've seen in organizations. So a text message or an email from somebody who says, "Oh, I just got a new email account. Can you send me your information, or can you send me this piece of information, or go to this website to add me as a contact?" Those kinds of things typically lead to what's called a credential harvesting site. It may look like a legitimate logon site, like a Google logon or a Microsoft logon, but beware, as that may not be what you think it's going to be. Unusual email requests from a friend asking you to send money, shared documents where somebody says, "Hey, I've sent you this file. I want you to look at it." If you're not expecting that file, be cautious. Proceed with caution. Anything that you're um, not expecting from that person. Be cautious with them. And we'll talk about kind of how do you protect yourselves from these? How do you proceed on the next slide? The last one that we see is where a person emails and says, "Oh, I know something about you," and then this is where they try to establish their trust with you. They may either have researched information about you from Facebook, LinkedIn, or they'll share information from a previous information disclosure from a password breach where they say, "Oh, and you use this password." So they make it seem like they know something about you, but really they don't. So let's talk about, like, what do you do? How do you defend from these if they're so common? If you hit that next slide for me. So the number one defense is be a human firewall. So don't click on things that you recognize. Don't respond to people that you don't recognize. That's the first best step in protecting yourself and protecting your assets or your company's assets. Check URLs, confirm that something that you're about to click on is taking you to where you think it's supposed to be. Similarly, when you get an email from somebody, they make sure that that's actually from the email address that you know that person to be. Other things that are maybe more IT centric, update your stuff. That's a significant portion of maintaining IT security, is just making sure that you have all of your updates in place on your systems. Other items, if something seems unusual, if something seems out of place, it probably is. So reach out. If somebody's sending you something you don't expect, reach out to them separately through other means, especially if they're asking you to engage in some kind of financial transaction. Last item that I'll kind of highlight is multi-factor authentication is a great thing. Enable it wherever you can. We can talk more about that in the breakout. And I think I'm out of time. Thank you.
You're perfect. Thank you again for giving us that overview. It's really crazy to think about the amount of ways that private information can be taken and just the strategies people come up with, and to highlight that. So yeah, I think this will be a great discussion breakout. And finally, we have Bo and Eric from Zovio here with us. Zovio moved here about a year ago, and it was amazing, just the opening they had. I imagine you guys are missing your physical facility. It's such an amazing place.
Yeah.
Just the education tech, what you guys do, it's so great to have you here. So take it away, Zovio.
Hi, I'm Eric Peterson. I am still in San Diego, where our headquarters used to be. And so there are a lot of, we're actually sort of spread around the country. We've got a lot of people in Chandler and some people in Denver, and even a few people in Iowa, and then elsewhere in the country, because we're a remote workforce. We are an education technology service provider, and I actually started as a computer programmer on mainframes way back in 1985. Let's go to the next slide. For the history of cybersecurity, it really starts around the 1970s, but at that time, things such as ransomware, spyware, viruses, and worms didn't exist. It really kicked off in the 70s and 80s. Most of the cyber crimes were inside jobs to gain access to restricted information for a personal gain, or sometimes just for a challenge for those smart college guys that just wanted to prove they could do something. But in 1988, the first computer worm was created, and due to a programming error, it actually replicated and slowed the internet to a crawl. This not only created a new job market for computer security, but also caught the interest of evildoers and the damage they could cause and money they could gain through cyber crimes. As technology has progressed, so has hackers' abilities to infiltrate personal data. So cybersecurity should now be a priority for every person and every organization. Next slide, and I'll turn it over to Bo.
Hey, everybody. I'm excited to be here as well. I am responsible for risk management and information security over at Zovio. Fairly new to the company. I joined in January, but I'm passionate about education, and that was one of the reasons. I actually live in Cincinnati, Ohio. Really want to move to Phoenix, but pandemic put things behind. Perspectives. I'm really hoping to meet you all in person someday. And I think I was one of those hobbyist hackers in the mid 80s that Eric mentioned. Like my parents got me a computer when I was 9, and they knew nothing about computers, which helped me a lot. And then I started figuring out how can I win a game without playing it, or how do I connect to download this information, and kind of start playing around. So it was a natural transition for me to move to actually the field of information security, and I've been doing it for about 15 years now. Usually when I present on securing companies, right? And in this particular case, it was securing personal cybersecurity. So it was a bit of a challenge for me. And I'm like, what are the most important things? So I broke it down in 3 primary categories. It would be account access. So whether it's your social media, banking, whatever account it is, or even account for your iPhone, iCloud. Make sure don't share passwords with anybody. Keep them to yourself. Make sure to use two-factor authentication. Used to be it was a good idea to use two-factor when you could. Now, I do not know why anybody wouldn't use it. It's available everywhere. Google supports it, Facebook. There are multiple solutions. Enable it wherever you can. That way, if somebody even does steal your password, they still cannot gain access. It is difficult to remember passwords, especially if you want to keep them all separate. So you may want to consider there are solutions like Passwords Vault and Manager applications. Example is LastPass, which can keep all of those things for you. So just do some research to make sure you select the right one. Mobile device security is a big one because it has so much good data on you and has so much tracking. So again, make sure it's password protected, fingerprint facial, use geolocation. That way you can find your device, you can do remote wipe, make sure device is encrypted if it's not done so by default. And be very mindful when you have your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled, because when it's enabled, somebody can still gain access to your device. So disable it when you don't need it. Back to Clayton's presentation about don't click on anything you answer to strangers. You get text messaging from unknown sources, numbers. Don't click on those. Make sure to back up your data if you don't want it lost. The last one, and I'm going to be quick because I'm getting a whole bunch of warning messages here. Gaming, especially for those of us that do have kids. That's something we often may not think about, but there are a lot of malware can actually get spread through gaming because, you always want to modify a game, add another pack, which usually can contain malware. Gaming is a place where you can share personal information, either through profiles or just talking to other people. So be mindful of it. You don't want anybody to be able to track your actual real identity easily to the one online in a game. So hope this helps. Next.
I'll try to keep this short. Just some basic password tips, and Clayton may have covered these, but your password should be 12 or more characters, a mix of upper and lower case characters with special characters and numbers. You shouldn't be anything from a dictionary, no pet names, no names of, nothing you could find on social media should be in your password. You should change it a minimum of every 3 months, but 60 days would be even better. You should also change it immediately if any of your accounts ever get hacked, or if a business that you do business with gets hacked, because those are in the news. So whenever something happens out there that you find out about, change your password. And I always use mnemonics to remember my passwords. So there's an example in the slide deck you'll get when you at the end of this conference here. Next slide. And then this is just, once again, going over what Clayton said, but a little more graphics, is make sure that when you get an email that you are very cautious of all emails you get, especially if it's from someone you don't know. So check that email address, make sure it matches. For one thing, make sure the email address matches the name that it came in. Some people, you can disguise the name, the actual email address with a different name pretty easily. So right click on that email address that it came from and see if the URL matches. And always, and even be cautious of emails from people that you do recognize. And lastly, any hyperlink within an email or even within a website, you can right click it or just hover over it, and you can determine what the true URL being used is. So make sure those match. There's an example there on the last slide that this was an actual email I got where the actual URL was not equal to what it looked like. So this was probably a hack attempt that got through our company security. That's it for me. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bo and Eric, for making that presentation. There were some questions in the chat. I don't know if you guys could post them again just to make them more current. Then maybe we can answer some of the questions in the chat. I want to get us to the next phase of the presentation, or to the conversation. So we want to put up a poll that is now should be on your screen. Your feedback is used really to guide what these conversations are. They've been really critical in terms of the last 3 that we've done have been based upon what people have thrown out that they wanted to have as a conversation. So if you can answer those polls, and then also if our presenters can potentially address the questions in the chats that might have come up as well. And then the next phase will move into the breakout rooms.
Yeah, so one of the questions, presenters, was how safe are password vaults or managers? Is there a risk that they can be hacked? So I don't know, Clayton, if maybe you want to start with that, and then we can go around the horn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was eyeballing that one there. So absolutely they can, just like anything that is connected to the internet can be hacked. The only safe computer is the one that's often doesn't exist. However, I will say the risk presented by using non-complex or non-unique passwords, and the risk of not being able to manage those passwords is much greater, or the risk of not regularly rotating your passwords. And a password vault greatly helps you do that, because you, instead of having to remember, okay, it's my cat's name 13 as my password, you're better served if you can use unique passwords per site that you use or per service that you use, and be able to easily rotate those and often see the age of those passwords, which is a common feature across those password managers as well. So you can see the last time it was updated, and so, oh well, it's been a year, or it's been 3 months, or what have you. It's time to rotate those passwords. So yes, they can be hacked, but I think the other item I'll add on there is those organizations they will let you know when that occurs. So like Eric and Bo were saying, right, if a company lets you know, hey, we've had something happen, it's time to go rotate those passwords, which will be much easier if you have a password manager.
Awesome, thank you, Clayton. Eric or Bo, anything, or Jenna, that you want to add to that? Eric, looks like you're unmuted. Did you want to add anything?
No, I think Clayton covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's a very good summary. Many years ago, I actually was extremely against those items just because it kind of gives us a central point of failure. But a lot of, and do research. There are a lot of them out there. So make sure you go for the ones that well vetted and, is good. But the risk of you reusing the same password is much higher than basically not having it saved in a secure place. And there are other things you can do. Some of them are very easy to use and integrate with your browsers, etc. So they're kind of stored online in a cloud. There are others that based on encryption stored on your local computer or mobile device. So those generally would be less convenient, but more secure just because, it's not actually sunk to any other location. You can also do different tricks. I mean, you can enter your password there, but maybe purposefully add a digit or two or something like that. So if somebody does hack you, but by the time, company notifies you, you have time to roll those passwords before somebody actually had a chance to abuse them.
Great. And then there's one more question, and I don't know, I actually know Zovio has a great one for this. So I know Samson's on the phone or on the Zoom call as well. But what are some tips to help under 6th grade remember their password or even set a password, especially resource students? So I know Zovio has a really fun, almost like a Mad Lib that you can do to create a password. But I don't know if y'all have, anybody has thoughts. Jenna, Clayton, Eric, Bo, anybody about that?
Yeah, I would just go back to using mnemonics. You'd be surprised how well kids remember stuff. And if you make a fun mnemonic to help them remember it, like I like bananas, and just use the first however many characters of, or I would like to eat 16 bananas, and then you can use the first few letters of each word to create a password. And
I would, as a person who just recently had to get a 7-year-old for online learning, I have some recent experience, some recent impact there. Browser integrated, in addition to using a mnemonic, the thing that was successful for us was I would quiz her on it throughout the day, right? So reinforcement assist, and then browser integrated password managers also help, because that cut down the surface, if you will, of the passwords that she needed to remember. She needed to remember the password to get into her computer and the password to get into the password manager. But then from there, the password manager assisted her with logging on with her subsequent passwords that she needed to get into for the 7 or 8 different applications that were used for her online schooling.
I was gonna say same thing, assuming it's the same device that student uses, whether it's Chromebook or whatever, you can save all the passwords there. Obviously not the most secure practice, but probably the best one type of cases.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you, presenters. We really appreciate it. And thank you for everyone for posing some questions in the chat box. We're gonna go ahead and move into breakout rooms. So
we really hope everybody had a chance to have a dynamic and valuable discussion within your groups. We hope you had some chance to share some resources if possible, some ideas and thoughts with each other. So thanks for attending, being part of the breakouts today. As the groups continue to close, we would love to have a few share outs. You can put some of your comments in the chat box. But again, we really wanted some moderators to share one major takeaway from the rooms. We appreciate all of our presenters, our facilitators, moderators, everybody for joining us today. I think this new world of the tech industry and the boom of virtual space, as we learned about Clayton's 7-year-old, right, really having to navigate online systems, not only for the adults, but the students. I think it was a very valuable discussion. It was based on your feedback of what types of discussions you'd like to have. So welcome back, everybody. And if we have any of our breakout room moderators that would like to share, go ahead. Sorry, excuse me. And let me know, or go ahead.
Yeah, I can start off. You know,
Thanks.
we actually had a really good discussion that basically broke down into 3 areas, and I'll address the last one. And that is that a lot of us downloaded a bunch of software for the kids during this pandemic, and we got no training in cybersecurity of any sort. So all of a sudden, we were inundating our devices with all this new access points that we weren't even thoughtful of security. We had that discussion, we did personally in our company about working from home, but for the school it was a it was a non-issue, and I think we made a good suggestion for how to address that's in the notes. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. That's a very good point, right? Everybody's like, please just help us. Click. Yes, absolutely. I love that one. Oh, look, they're engaged for more than 8 minutes. All right, awesome. Any other breakout room would like to share?
This is Eve. And oh, go.
No, go ahead, Eve.
Okay, we had something similar too, saying that the education piece, students, different policies in different, districts, and that the training, kids were very quick to click yes right away without understanding the policies. So their training that could be done in short bursts and often would be absorbed better by the family, by the kids and the families. So that was kind of one of the big takeaways.
Great point. Jake, you had something you want to share?
Well, first of all, apparently everybody needs to change their passwords. But besides that, we talked about having open conversations with the kids and the students as well, so they understand what's going on and making it not so secret, if you will, and understanding what's out there and what's going on. And then we also discussed the fact that it's kind of difficult because as you go district to district and everything else, there's so many different platforms you have to learn.
Yeah.
And keeping track of that in the different aspects of each one. So those are kind of some of the key points we discussed.
Excellent. All right, I'll kick it back over to Jeremy for the closing thoughts and upcoming sessions.
Okay. Well, thanks again for being here today, and the participants, the team, the speakers. It really is awesome to have everyone here coming together and having these conversations. We'll be following up the next few days with an email summary of the discussion for the breakout rooms, copy of the slide, access to the video to later see. In 2 weeks, we do have the next conversation plan, which is reopening schools. What does it look like? We actually have some awesome speakers already lined up. So we got Dr. Betsy Hargrove from Avondale School District, along with Kathy Hoffman, so the state superintendent, to join us as well. And so we're really excited that we can really get into this important topic of what is it going to look like. And we put it this time just so it could be really timely in terms of it's right about that time where the schools are going to open. So with that, thank you very much. I know some of the team hangs out after to answer any questions or talk a little bit longer. But thank you again for being here today. We appreciate it.